Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. This is day 2 of building a travel agency from scratch. So if you haven't seen day 1, then go back and check out that video. I'll leave the link in the description. And then all the other days you'll be able to find in the playlist titled How to Build a Travel Agency from Scratch. So this is day 2, and I actually had to work today, so I'm really sleepy. I don't know what's going on with me right now, but the last few days I have been extremely sleepy. And I think it's because my sleep schedule is really thrown off right now. I've been going to bed a lot later than usual. But I've been sleeping in, so I'm not really sure why. I still feel like I'm very tired throughout the day because I still sleep in until 9 before I even get up. So yeah, I think I'm gonna try to go to bed early tonight. But hopefully that works out. We'll see. But anyway, today is day 2 of building a travel agency from scratch. And today we are talking about defining who your ideal client is, right? And I know a lot of this in the beginning might seem like the setting up the business and, doing all the fine tuning details, may not be as exciting as go ahead and get into creating the website and creating your systems, signing up for systems like TravelJoy or whatever CRM you're going to use. But before we get to all of that, we want to make sure that we do the foundation work first, right? And so identifying who our client is going to play a big role in the success of our agency, because it's going to determine how we market, and just everything from building the website to deciding what our systems would look like, and so how we're engaging with our clients, how they respond to us, so what forms we use, what softwares we use, all of those things. We need to figure out who the client is first, and then we're going to get to that. So that being said, today we are going to define who the ideal client is. And I told you guys in my other video that I am focusing on St. Lucia as, kind of what we specialize with this agency. And I think I talked about it before, kind of the demographic that I'm going after. So we're going to fine tune that. So whatever your demographic is, whatever you want to target in your agency, it doesn't have to be one destination like I'm doing. You do whatever you want to do in your business. This is just something that I am experimenting with. So you guys decide, but I will tell you, maybe eventually through this 90 days, I'll stop coughing. But I will say that it is important to niche down, right? So you don't have to niche to a particular destination, but you do want to niche down to a certain demographic. So that means picking a range as far as how old are they or what generation. I would typically probably go towards their generation, or you can do age range. I think you would probably include more people if you did the generation, or it might come out the same. I'm not sure, but I would figure out what that looks like in your business. So, and then guys, if you're not familiar with how to niche down in a business, I think I have some other videos on my channel, but you can really just Google it, or find more videos on YouTube talking about how to niche down and what that looks like. But just some thing, and we're going to talk about it too in this video. So let me just not talk too much and get distracted. But I kind of already know who my ideal client is, but I'm going to walk you guys through how to find yours as well. So let me just see here. So something I do want to mention is there's many reasons why you should niche down in your business, but one of the key things is it's going to make it so much easier to market to them, right? It's going to make it easier for you to structure your messaging to reach a certain audience, right? So that it's easier for you to connect with people. And I kind of talked about that in the first video, is that these people are working with you because they feel connected in one way or another, right? You've made them feel like they can trust you or relate to you, whatever the case may be. So whenever you niche down, that's what's going to make it easier for you in order to bring in these clients on a consistent basis. Just to give you guys an example, I was kind of even with my YouTube channel, for instance, a lot of these systems that we use in business can be used across the board when it comes to different types of businesses and different categories. And so for a little while, I was contemplating, do I want to switch my YouTube to gear towards a more broader audience, so that they can also learn, how to do these things like niching down, how to create systems in your business, all of these things. But what I found is, yes, you can do that, but it really waters down your marketing, right? It makes it hard for you to be the obvious choice, if that makes sense. So if I'm targeting entrepreneurs as a whole, how many people on the internet right now teach entrepreneurship or teach, how to do certain things in business, whether that's creating a website or, how to do social media, those type of things. There's a lot of individuals who do that. But when you specialize in a category, then it makes you the obvious choice. So that's one of the reasons you want to niche down, along with a lot of other things. But let's just keep going. All right. So what I'm going to have you guys do is to grab your notebook or a piece of paper so that you can go along with me and that you can work on this as we're talking through it throughout the video. All right. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to start with the basics, right? So who do we think our ideal client is, right? So you need to put yourself in the shoes of whoever you're trying to target, for instance. So first, I think what I'm going to do is just kind of go through some questions that I formulated and kind of what I use in my own business. And so the first thing I would say is, when you're trying to think about, okay, who is this client? You want to know, how old are they, right? And they don't have to be a particular age, right? You want to make it a range, of course, or like I said, you can do generations. So for me and the agency that I'm working on, my people, I'm going to say, are anywhere from 35 to 55, right? Because remember, you guys need to think this out, right? So hopefully I'm not jumping ahead, but I know that my people are between 35 and 55 because of the type of job they have, right? I said I was going after people who are successful entrepreneurs, right? So people who've done it for a while, they've been entrepreneurs for a while, or people who hold like high level positions, whether that be CEO or marketing executives, things like that. They're successful in their career. So 9 times out of 10, that means you are not 19, right? Because you haven't had time to be successful in your career. Now, there are younger entrepreneurs who are successful, but like realistically, that number isn't large, right? So when you're thinking about where are they in life, they're older, obviously, right? So that's how I kind of know what my age range is. Now, for you, let's just say if you were targeting, let's say spring breakers for whatever reason, let's just say that was something you wanted to do. I don't know how old people are in college now. I feel like I'm so old, but they're either like 20, 21, something like that, 19. You would know that your audience is in that age range, right? And hopefully none of y'all are targeting spring breakers. Oof. I'm sorry, spring breakers, but hopefully you're not targeting them anyway. So you think about, okay, well, if you're doing families, if you're going to target Disney, for instance, or family cruises, then 9 times out of 10, families are, either mid 20s, late 20s, and older, right? So you need to decide what that looks like. And then just to give you guys an example, if you were doing family cruises, right? Because that could be that goes over multiple generations, right? So like I said, you could be mid 20s, you can be earlier than that really, but let's just say they're mid 20s and older, right? Is the age range for people who are typically in that family structure. Now, I still wouldn't target all of those people from their mid 25 to whatever, right? To let's just say 70 something, right? And older. I would then also break that down into what type of traveler am I going to go after? So am I looking for that younger crowd who they want a cruise that has a lot of activities, who has fun things to do, the music, the partying, all of that? Or do I want to be more on the end of that age range to where they're looking for just relaxation and leisure? So they're looking for more of a quieter cruise, maybe an adults only cruise, or something that's way more laid back, So you really have to think beyond just, the surface level. So I hope that, me doing this series that I'm doing, I'm showing you guys how to walk through that, how to go deeper than just the surface level. So you're actually targeting the clients that you want. And you're not just, getting those people who aren't going to make decisions, and, you're just getting crickets in your business. So I hope that makes sense when it comes to the age. Now, then we want to talk about where they live. Now, for me, I already know for the agency that I'm working on, that they live in the U.S., right? So I'm not really marketing towards people outside of the U.S. Just because I don't want to get into looking into like if I'm legally allowed to sell travel to different countries. I don't want to have to keep up with their laws and their rules as well. So I'm just focusing on the U.S., right? But you guys, of course do. And I don't want to keep saying this in every video. So just take it for word. If you're watching any of these videos in this series, I'm not telling you what to do in your business. I'm not saying that this is the only and right way to do business. I'm just showing my experience. Okay, so that'll be the disclaimer. So I'm going to do the U.S. and I'm going to do the whole U.S., right? So I'm not picking certain states, but of course you do the research and figure out what aligns with your brand. And then to go beyond, oh Lord. Okay, so to go beyond that, I would define where they live, right? And I don't really need to go into this just because I kind of already know this in my head. But for you, I would want you to think about, okay, do they live in the apartment? And you don't have to go too deep into this part, but I do want you to jot this down as you go so that you can reference it whenever you're planning the pricing and things like that. And if they can even afford to travel, right? So let's just say you picked the age range of like 25. I'm trying to see, trying to think about when I really started making good money in my career. But let's just say you picked somewhere between like 19-year-olds and, they're 24 or something like that, right? Their extra income or disposable income is not going to be the same as somebody who's worked 30 years of their life already, right? And they're more established. So I would consider, okay, where do they live? Do they have apartments? Do they own homes? Because that plays a role, right? If they own a home, that's great. Yes, you know that they are stable in some sense, but what type of home? How many expenses do they already have? Are they already stretched thin? Like all these things you need to think about when it comes to who is my ideal client, because you obviously don't want the person who is who technically has a house, but they have 3 car payments and they don't even have extra income because they've spent it on so many other things. So you want to really think about what type of person it is. So it needs to be somebody who's financially educated, right? And they understand how to make smart business decisions or financial decisions. So you want to think about, where do they live? Do they live in an apartment? Do they live in a house? All of those things. And then where are they located? For instance, because that's going to kind of tie into what does their everyday life look like, right? So what does their routine look like? Are they going to work out 5 times a week or whatever? Or is that something that they're even interested in? All of these things matter. And so I'm just kind of throwing these out there as I'm talking through it. But I want you guys to be taking note of these things so that you have it when we start to really build the brand and build who the client avatar is going to be. And I kind of touched on this one already, but what is their income level? So for me and what I'm doing with my agency, these people are obviously in 6 figures and up, right? So you need to decide and you need to, not decide, but do the research and figure out what does their income level look like so that you can kind of understand what their finances look like, if that makes sense. Okay, because you're going to get those people who they're asking to go on trips that are just way out of their budget. And a lot of times that's where the frustration comes in as travel agents, because you're providing all of these options that are way out of their budget. And so you need to know that up front. And you, like yourself as a travel agent, as the expert, you need to know how to get those answers out of people before you start to work with them. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you're being transparent about the type of business that you offer and then what is required in order to experience that type of travel. And if there's something that you accommodate, then great, accommodate them. But if it's not, being confident in referring them to somebody else, right? So that's just that. Oh, and speaking of referring, I did want to start almost like a database of our community here on YouTube, so that we know who specializes in what are the price ranges that they specialize in. So when you're getting people coming into your business that you don't specialize in that particular destination, or you don't service that range or price range, you can refer them to our other agents, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We're all trying to be successful. And as I always say, there's plenty of business to go around for everybody. So let me know if that's something you guys are interested in. If so, I'll set that up to where we can, start creating that type of database for everybody to have. So yeah, let me know. But moving on, let's now talk about, you're going to jot down what their family structure is, right? So are they planning trips for themselves? Are they planning for their partner, for their kids? What does that look like? And for me, I told you that we are focusing on people who they work so much, or their schedules are very busy, and maybe their family relationships are falling, kind of to the side a little bit. So we are pushing them to make that more of a priority through travel. And so for me, I'm going to say that my people are, they're more than likely married, right? So and you can have multiple avatars. I do want to say that. So don't feel like you have to stick to, okay, well, these are the parameters for this ideal person. That's all I could target. No, that's not the case. So in my business, we're going to have the married couple or the married prospect. And then we're also going to have the single prospect. So, and both of these for me look completely different, right? So they have some things in common, yes, like the type of job, the income, how driven they are, all of that stuff is going to be the same. But where they will differ is here when it comes to their family structure. So for the married people, we are assuming that they have kids, and that's kind of what we're going to target them. So I'm going to put married/kids. And so that's how we are going to connect with them. We're going to really focus on pushing the importance of making sure that their family ties at home are healthy, that they are taking time for their kids, their marriages, and things like that. But then on the single side of it, these are who I picture to be people who are going to be more of my entrepreneurs, that they work really hard, but they enjoy working. So it's hard for them to pull themselves away from working. And when I target them, the things that we design are going to be more along the lines of kind of letting loose, having a good time. It might be more of a party scene, or encouraging them to bring their friends along with them, that type of thing, opposed to like family friendly activities, and that type of thing. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so talking about their pain points, which I kind of touched on in the first video, let's kind of work through that. So this is just a prompt that you guys can use as I'm working through this. So do they feel overwhelmed by too many of the travel options? I'm going to say no for my client, but you guys decide on your own, right? So sorry if the screen keeps going off. Let me put something on so it'll stop doing that. So you decide for yourself, what that looks like for you. But I don't necessarily see my people as being overwhelmed or anything like that. So that's not a pain point. And so I'm adjusting that. Now, are they too busy to plan vacations? Now, for me, I'm going to say yes, because like I said, their main focus is work, their careers, being successful, that type of thing. And travel has kind of taken a back seat to that. It's not something that they are actively looking to do on a consistent basis. It just doesn't cross their mind because they're busy. And then do they worry about getting scammed or not having a good experience? And I'm going to say yes, because people who are successful, people who have worked hard for their money, usually value it, right? And so they are more cautious about who they give their money to and how they spend it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book. I think is it How to Think Like a Millionaire? Let's see. I use Audible a lot. I read this book a long time ago, a couple years ago, I'm sure it's still in here. Oh, The Millionaire Mind. That's the one I have. So when I read that book, and then if you really like get to know people who are successful and who built it from nothing, they don't blow their money. You know, they just not out here buying, you know, these lavish gifts all the time with no regard for how much they're spending. Now, yes, rich people or, you know, successful people, wealthy people do buy nice things, but it's usually based on the fact that they could afford it multiple times over, right? They're not just out here spending money with no thought at all, right? So they do value their money and their funds, so they want it to be protected. So for that, I will say yes, that does resonate with who my ideal client is. Now, moving on, we're going to understand their desires. So what do they want? So this kind of plays into their pain points and their desires, two of the main things you need in order to properly market your business. So you're bringing in the right clients. So one of the questions you guys could ask is, are they dreaming of a relaxing, luxury, or adventurous travel? So what type of travel do they want? And for me, and what I'm doing in this agency, remember I'm doing a destination particularly. So I'm going to offer all of these. So I'm going to offer them the chance to experience a relaxing vacation, super luxe, which we're going to do that anyway, just because off of the brand ourselves and kind of what we're setting the standard is that we're only going to offer the more luxurious options anyway. And then so it's really going to go between relaxation and then adventure. And I'm going to let them decide, right? So based on the client, and as they're coming to me, you know, when I'm qualifying them and we're talking about what their desires are for this particular trip or for their particular trip, then I'll find out, okay, are they looking for more relaxation? Are they looking for more adventure? Or are they looking for both? And then we will craft the trip to fit their particular need when it comes to that. And then you guys do the same if you want. So do they want a completely hands-off experience? I'm going to say yes, just because I already know the brand that I'm trying to create. I know that I want it to be a white glove service. So that means hands-off, you know, where we're taking care of everything for them. But you decide what works for you and your brand. So are they looking to reconnect with family or escape from work stress? For me, this is a yes. And a lot of these things that I'm writing here now were brainstormed from my own agency, right, of what I'm starting. So to relate it back to you guys, you decide if they're trying to reconnect with family members, because maybe you're targeting single women. So they obviously wouldn't be trying to connect with the family members on vacation because that's not who you're targeting. So maybe they're trying to find new friends to travel with, or maybe they need to overcome the fear of traveling by themselves. Those are the kind of things that you guys need to be thinking about so that you can make note of it so we can use it later in the marketing phase, okay? All right, and then moving on, where are they hanging out? So this is something that is very important. I'm going to give you guys my opinion. But of course, you make your own judgments and do your own research. But what I think is that, especially being a solopreneur, which is what you are if you are starting your travel business and you don't have a team, you haven't hired out people to help you, you are the sole person doing majority of everything. And social media is so huge and there's so many platforms that my honest recommendation would be to, at least what I'm going to do, is to pick one platform that you go all in on. That you pick one platform that you go all in on. And that's where you market the most. That's where you put your focus the most in order to grow your business. So I'm going to tell you, sorry if you hear my door. That's my alarm for the door. Hold on. So let's just say, and I'm going to tell you guys what I'm doing, right? So because I know who my demographic is, because I know who I'm going after, I've decided that my main social media, hold on, y'all. All right, sorry, that was dropping my nuts. So because I know who my audience is and everything like that, I'm going to tell you guys what I'm doing, and I am going to focus heavily on LinkedIn to find my clientele. And then we're also going to have an Instagram presence. And so I'm still kind of fine tuning what that presence is going to look like, but we'll get to that a little later. But Instagram for us is not going to be used as the main source of how we're bringing in clients. It's going to be used almost as a way just to, thinking of the word, not qualify, but just to validate that we are a actual business, right? So we're going to have a presence there, but it's not going to be the platform that we use to bring in clients. We're actually going to use LinkedIn for that. So LinkedIn is going to be our lead generation platform. Okay, and so how you guys come up with this is that you think about, okay, what is the age range of my ideal audience? Are they younger? So like, are they Gen Z? Because if they are, then they're probably on TikTok, so that's probably where you want to be. Are they millennials? A lot of millennials are on Instagram. Are they older, like boomers and the other generations? Then they're probably on Facebook. So you need to know the age range. That's kind of what we talked about that earlier too. And you can kind of see how all of these kind of play a role. Because if you are, let's say you are trying to go after the older demographics, but you're only on Instagram. Now, yes, some people are on Instagram who are older, but 9 times out of 10, the majority of that generation is over on Facebook. So you need to figure out where they're hanging out so that you can go hang out with them. Okay. And then I wouldn't try to do a whole bunch of platforms, right? Kind of like I said, LinkedIn is going to be the thing that we actually put true effort into, that we are actually giving the most value we can is going to be through LinkedIn. And then we're just going to have a presence on Instagram. And I'll kind of explain what that means when we get to the day when I'm doing content creation. But so you guys need to make that same decision and decide on which platform you're going to focus with. And then once you really grow on one platform, then you can start to add the other ones later on, right? So that's how I would do that if I was you. All right. Now, okay, so once you kind of figure that out, I hope it's all starting to kind of like come together as far as what your ideal client is going to look like. And I want you guys to really take some time and narrow down as much as you can about your client avatar. And then, like I said, you don't have to just have one, right? You can have multiple avatars that you go after, but they still need to be niched down, right? That doesn't mean go and make every client avatar for every demographic and every age. It still needs to fit your brand and who you're going after as a whole, and then break those up into like 2 or 3 segments if it's needed. And so I hope that is kind of helping you guys, and that has given you some insight on how to come up with your ideal client. Because now that we have this information, we'll be able to start to prepare our marketing strategy and what that's going to look like for us moving forward. So I'll see you guys in the next one. And if you haven't watched day 1, of course, go back and watch it. Or if you're watching these all out of order, then you could just go to the playlist and watch them from day 1 up until whatever day it is now that you're watching this. And I'll see you guys in the next one.